Hello and welcome to Conversations Across the Ditch with myself, Carrie Marie in New Zealand, and the beautiful Kellie O'Shea in Tasmania.
Hi guys. Hi
And
Carrie.
hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome. And today we're going to talk about the basic keys for living an effective life. So I'd love it, Kellie, if you would share, because we've been reading in the Facebook group, Empowering You Book Club, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and we've just finished the first chapter, which is Inside Out. So we wanted to share with you some of the key learnings that we've had from this chapter, which I'm sure you will love. And he's basically in this chapter setting out the framework for the 7 habits, the very bedrock of what it takes to live effectively, what it means and what we need to know in order to be able to do that before we even get started. Just super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you like to kick the ball off, Kellie, with what?
Absolutely. In this chapter, all of it was amazing. I think one of the key things that I took away from reading this was the understanding of our perception, and how it forms, opinions, it forms emotions, it forms so much. Is that the word? It forms so much, and as I read through the chapter, and the examples that he gives, I really could understand and see how, my perception of things that are happening around me, how I take them in or how I understand them, and this key principle or this key learning that he takes from that, it just blows me away. Understanding our perception of the world and the world around us and the people that we meet and the opinions that we form. That was definitely a key takeaway for me, Carrie.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'd love to know, because our perceptions are really powerful, and my understanding of that, and he shares this in the book too, is about how we learn from other people. It's our experiences, it's what we're told, it's always unique to each individual person. No person has the exact same map, because we've all had, even as children, even as twins even, slightly different experiences, and so that shapes the way that we perceive our world and how we therefore interact with it. And how have you found that knowing this has changed your life? Why is it so important to really get clear on this?
I think that's great. Thank you for asking that question. It's changed my life in knowing that, like we're going to go here now, the map is not the territory, understanding that what I am seeing, what I am hearing, what I am focusing on is not necessarily what the person right next to me is focusing on. So, I have a greater understanding, a greater perception of not always saying you're wrong, I'm right, or you're right, I'm wrong. When you're seeing things differently. And it's changed me and created a better space, if you like to put it that way, in that I'm able to move through life with a better understanding.
Beautiful. So when you say a better understanding, tell me more. A better understanding of yourself, others?
Yeah, definitely a better understanding of myself, but also a greater understanding of others. And knowing that neither of us are wrong, neither of us are right. We're looking at it from our own perspective, and when we accept that, and when we understand that, then we learn so much, because we learn things from other people, the way they see it. They learn things from us. We don't have to say, stop, listen to what I'm saying because I'm right. You know, we just, okay, that's fine. You know, and I just want to share, I watched a TED talk before we jumped on today, Carrie. And this lady, this perception is amazing. She jumped on and she said to the people, all right, I want you to imagine that you're going to catch a train. And the train leaves at 3 o'clock, okay? So on the stage, at this end is where I want you to stand if you arrive at 2 o'clock. And at this end, I want you to stand if you arrive at 3 o'clock. And she got everyone to come up from their seat and stand. You know, and for me, and I assume everyone probably goes, whatever. But there were people at 2 o'clock, there were people along the line, there were people at the 3 o'clock, and then there was even a guy over the 3 o'clock. And so then she said to the people down here, you know, so what do you think of the people that are standing at the 3 o'clock? And these people, this person said, they're obviously stressed. They're stressed out. They're in a rush. You know, they're just, oh my goodness, they're so stressed out. Right? And then she went to the people at the 2 o'clock and said, what do you think of the people, at the 3 o'clock? What do you think the people at 2 o'clock? And they're like, they're time wasters. They have too much time. You know, they're just blasé about what they're going to do. And, and she was like, oh, okay. But then she went back to the 2 o'clock people and they're like, what do you think of their perception? And they're like, well, you know, we did get here early, or I did get here early, but I've got my laptop with me, you know, or I've got a book. So I knew I would get here early, but I brought things with me to do, right? You know, and then it was like, and the 3 o'clock people, she said she could see some of them kind of like, oh, I didn't look at it like that. I just assumed you're going to get here early and then you're going to waste that hour. Wow. And then she went to the person that was over the 3 o'clock and said, so what time do you get here? And he said 3:05. And he said, oh, so what do you think of the people that arrived at 2 o'clock? And he said, I admire them. I admire them because they're here, but they've got things they want to do. Well, I'm stressed out because I'm like, you know, I'm taking the subway or I'm taking buses and I'm just stressed out because anything could have caused the bus to run late. You know, and so I admire them because they're like, they've got this time to be stress-free and they're still working on what they want to do. And I'm like, that again, you know, that's the whole perception of all these people. But when she talked about it, they all kind of like admired each other because they're like, wow. Yeah, and then that was a really good example for me, before understanding and before hearing that, of how each of them perceive the people that arrived early, the people that arrived at 3 o'clock, the people that arrived in the middle, you know, but we've all got the different reasons for arriving. So I just wanted to share that, and that was a great example. You know, understanding, and also again the mapping up the territory. You know, the 3 o'clocks assumed that the 2 o'clock had too much time on their hands. You know, whereas no, they just didn't want to be stressed out, but they came prepared. Whereas the 2 o'clock assumed that the 3 o'clock would be stressed out, but they didn't want to miss the train. So yeah, that's a great example of understanding of this whole mapping up the territory and the perception of other people.
Yeah. And I love that example because it also illustrates how we can learn from each other as well. and how it opens up more possibilities. Like those people arriving at 3 o'clock, assuming that people at 2 o'clock were time wasters, but then it's like, oh, it didn't occur to me that I could get here early and still make use of the time to do something useful.
Yeah.
And I'll put my hand up. When I used to catch trains back in the day when I was in the UK, I would be the one getting there at 2 o'clock because I had to rely on public transport, and I didn't like the idea of allowing just one. Sometimes it'd be like two, maybe three buses I might have to catch. And of course, if one of those was running late or didn't show up, which was quite common, I wouldn't make my train. So for me, it's like I would allow at least one bus to not show up, which would often mean that I'd get there an hour early. So I used to take my laptop, my books, and I used to make sure I had something to do whilst I was in that time because I prepared for it.
Yeah.
I was there that early because I didn't want to miss my train.
Oh yeah, you know, and I'm the same. I'm an early person. I want to be prepared. So, you know, I don't like running into things, you know, meeting or gathering late. I hate it so much. I'm always early. You know, I've got a book or I'm writing notes. So, you know, and but then I have other people who, you know, like always say to me, oh, you know, Miss Kellie, she's always early. You know, oh, you got so much time. And I'm like, well, I have, but in what I, you know, in how I do deal with it, like you with you, Carrie. You know, yeah, I'm early, but it's because I don't want to be late. I don't want that stress of running in late and being all stressed and not being focused. So that's just me, you know. And when people do hear me tell them that, they kind of like, okay, I get it now. You know, I don't just like turning up and being sitting out in my car half an hour early doing nothing. I get time to focus, do some deep breathing and, you know, reset my plan.
I love that. And what I'm also hearing as you're sharing that is that there's also respect. Like, because you're that early, you're actually respecting them and their space by not rocking up late. So not only you are not stressed, so you're looking after your energy and how you approach the group, but then you're not also disrupting the energy of the group by turning up late. So there's respect there as well. So it comes down to values and principles, which Stephen Covey talks a lot about. He talks about principles, and I guess in a way, that would also be a principle, right? If you turn up late, you are naturally going to disrupt the energy, and there's going to be consequences to that versus showing up early and looking after your energy. So I think that's really cool. Thank you for sharing.
I mean, you know, thank you for pointing that out, because I guess I never really thought of it in the way that I'm respecting them as well, because I'm walking in stressless, you know. So thank you for pointing that out, and a key value and another reason why I do that, you know. And that's great. Thank you for pointing that out to me, Carrie.
Pleasure. We're always learning from each other, aren't we? That's the benefit of having these conversations. So wow. So I'm curious to know, how would you say that you were describing this to someone to be able to help them to shift their perspectives from so they can see a wider picture? Because I looked at how you shared earlier that, you know, you can have and you shared a post on Facebook, you told me, about a world, and that, you know, there's a tiny little slice, and we only know this tiny little portion of someone's world, of someone's map. We don't know the full story. We only know maybe a paragraph of the story. So I'm curious, how would you go about describing to someone how they can open up their perspectives?
Well, you know, I love that again, you know, because like you that picture, you know, we only know that much. Again, it might be not the fact that we don't want to know anymore. It might be what that person is allowing us to know, you know. And so opening up our perception, excuse me, I guess it's just a greater understanding of being aware of how much we know, and being open to asking the question, not being nosy and not making someone uncomfortable, but allowing that person to, or holding that space for the person to open up and to feel comfortable and to lead, you know what I mean? And just being there and knowing, or allowing that person to know that that space is there to share. What do you want to extend on that, Carrie?
I would actually, and yeah, it's beautiful. So what I'm hearing is it's really about being curious without judgment. It's about being open and genuinely sincere. And if someone's saying something to you that's very, especially if it's black and white, like, this is the way it is, this is the way it's always been. Like, really? What makes you think that? I'm curious. Is it okay if you tell me more? I'm being okay with if they don't want to tell you more.
Absolutely.
And also remembering, and I love what you're sharing before as well, like, we only know the map that someone's willing to share with us, but also some of that map we're not aware of. Like, a lot of it's unconscious, subconscious stuff. It's stuff that we've held on to since we're like 2 or 3 years old. We don't remember it, but it's still running, and we're still running our lives. So it's not just what someone's willing to share. It's also, well, it is that, but there's also a lot of stuff they don't know. That they don't even know that they could share, because they just don't know it exists.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's why we can only know such a small portion, or part of the reason why I can only know such a small portion of someone's map. We just simply don't. We don't know unless we start asking questions. And it's awesome, actually, when we start testing or just nudging and just gently asking with openness, with a lack of judgment, without a need to lead or things to be a certain way, that people start actually questioning themselves too. They might not have ever thought about it. Why do I think that? And it might be something that happened to them when they were really young. And they might say, well, they might even say, this keeps happening to me. Like, really? All the time? Tell me about that.
Yeah.
There have been a time when it hasn't happened. It's almost like coaching in a way, but you get curious about it. And it's interesting. Suddenly that thing they thought was a 9 could actually be a 6. It can sometimes completely flip someone's world around. And so, and we can do this for ourselves too. And it's a good place to start, actually, starting with ourselves. It's like, if you catch yourself saying, especially if you catch yourself saying universal things like always, never.
Yeah. I think
you catch yourself with something very black and white. It's like, really? Has there ever been a time when I haven't thought this way, or when this hasn't always happened? Has there been a time where I have experienced something good? Am I really always sad and depressed?
Yeah.
It starts.
And I love.
Awesome.
It is, and thank you. I'm just, I'm, as you're talking, I'm listening to the words you're using, and the losing the lack of judgment, like losing that, and understanding that not everything's black or white, and at the start, even if you feel, you said, they're wrong, like you're saying to someone, not necessarily you're wrong, but I'm curious, why do you think that? And then you're opening yourself up and allowing them to share their perspective, and that's gold. It's beautiful, and it all, it comes down to the language that you're using, or no, it doesn't all come down to that, but that is a big key takeaway. The language that you're using towards yourself and someone else, the tone that you're using, the body language. And then, then you just mentioned there, start with yourself. And then you're okay to share, Carrie, you told me an experience that you had yesterday where you needed to kind of use this methodology to bring yourself back. And if you want to share that, I would love for you to share that with our listeners, because it was beautiful.
Thank you so much. This was actually, well, I'll share a little bit actually, because this came from, when I was thinking about sharing this, was also from my key takeaway, which is the problem is not the problem. It's the way that we see the problem is the problem.
Yeah.
And so, and I've recently just undergone a change. I've recently moved offices. I was in a space where it was getting quite cluttered and it wasn't feeling good. And I had my healing space in another room. I've now consolidated everything. And this is part of a process for me to actually embody this. The problem is not the problem. So anyway, I'm sitting here in my new space and I'm working actually on our podcast, thinking about what can I share here today? What is my key takeaway? And I was sitting here and I was getting really sad and really tired and really tearing. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't from what I'm doing, but I didn't know what it was from. There's nothing obvious in my space triggering me. There's no one else here. There's no reason that I could think of for me to feel this way. And I was like, in the past, I would have seen this as an issue. I was seen it as an excuse to beat myself up. Like, why are you feeling like this? There's no need for you to be. Just keep working. It's important that you do this for Kellie, for the podcast, blah, blah, blah. Lots of judgment. That's what I would have done in the past. And instead, I saw it as an opportunity to chill out, to spend time with it, to go and sit in the corner. I actually sit there, now I've moved rooms, I've got space, and I have a sitting space, a nice place where I can rest and play my ukulele that I've started to learn. And I invited a cat in, and she kind of sat on my lap, so I got to enjoy playing singing bowls, my ukulele, and having a nice purry cat lying on me, and actually doing a bit of meditation as well, not pushing this thing away and treating it like an issue, instead of seeing it as an opportunity to actually be compassionate with myself, to actually embody the healing. And this room is my healing space. So it's like, it's an opportunity for me then to go, okay, well, if I'm sitting here frustrated, that's not an energy I want in this space. So instead of seeing it as a problem, it's like, okay, well, here's an opportunity for me to heal. Here's an opportunity to be more compassionate to myself. And as I do that, I'm also saying it's okay for other people to do that, step away from the work. The work will still get done. I still did it. I did it at a different time. I did it later in the day. It still got done. But I did it in flow instead of feeling resentment or frustration around it. And so seeing it differently. So it's that perception change, like you're saying, seeing it as an issue, flipping it to, okay, opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. And for you to be able to do that now, how can you, or how has that changed your flow in how you work, how you create things, and how your day goes? Being able to, acknowledge those moments in your day.
Oh, it's changed a lot because I'm not fighting myself. In the past, I'd have been fighting. I'd have been resisting it. I've been calling myself lazy for sitting down. I was speaking to someone this morning. I have a coach too, and we're on the phone, and she's like, "What's a big deal for you? In the past, you would have beaten yourself up saying you were lazy." And she's like, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would have done." But now I can sit there and say, well, no, this is actually part of me being human. This is actually part of the work that I need to do for myself, because I'm actually helping my clients to do this for themselves. So it's about that self-compassion and taking time out and being okay with that, and knowing that, you know what, the work is actually the least important thing. Like the stuff on the computer, it's the least important thing. The most important thing is self-compassion. How I show up for the work is important, and more important than the actual work itself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how you're emphasizing on yourself, on self there. Ourself, number one. Like we run ourselves down, then we're not going to be able to do the best work that we're capable of doing, or be the best person that we are. You know, we're tired, grumpy, angry, frustrated, emotional. You know, we're not going to show up and be the best us, best me that I can be.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm guilty of not allowing myself to take time out. I'm working on it. I really am. I've got a coach and I'm working on it. You know, but I've always had this mental thing of telling myself, get it done, get it done, get it done, and then you can take the time out. You know,
Yeah.
but that doesn't work. I need to take the time out first, like you did. And so thank you for sharing that. And I've definitely noted that down in my notes, and take time out for me when my mind, when my body is telling me, or my heart is telling me, let it go for a minute, let it go. Refocus somewhere else and come back to it. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Pleasure.
And allowing, yeah.
Because the healing happens when we actually allow the feelings to happen, when we're okay with feelings, because it's so important. If we are pushing them away and we say, no, the doing is more important than the being, we're suppressing. We're saying it's not okay. And then we've got more work down the track to feel it, because it will be nagging at us.
Yeah.
And eventually, and that's why a lot of our physical health problems come from our suppression of the emotions.
Wow.
So it's one of the reasons why it's so important that, okay, I'm feeling this, and having that awareness. And I have to say, mindfulness techniques and all the rest of it are awesome. And I went away, I think I shared in the previous podcast, away for a weekend and did a whole weekend of meditation. And that's really helped me become more aware of what's going on in my body. Being more aware of, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Okay, it's still there. Okay, now I need to take time out. Because like you, in the past, I would have done. When this is finished, then I can deal with that. Then I can give myself that space. But then it's too late. It's gone. Sometimes it's not appropriate, you know, if you're a hairdresser and you're cutting someone's hair and all of a sudden you feel tear, it's probably not appropriate to express that feeling right there. But in this case, because I was on my own, totally appropriate to take myself off and just sit quiet.
Absolutely. You know, and one of the things, you know, if I can, an example that I work with children, and I was talking to a parent who was trying to kind of suppress the child's emotion of wanting, you know, not wanting to be in care, you know, wanting to spend the day with the mum. You know, they were emotional, and the mum was trying to suppress the child and like, stop it, you're being silly. And I just want to approach the mom and just say, you know what, can you just let the child be emotional? You know, is that what they're feeling? Let them be emotional. And because then I try to explain, you know, if we try and shut that off, it's not going to go away, it's still going to be there. But the next time an emotion comes up, it's going to be twice as bad, because they haven't let it go. They've just kept it in, and it's still there. And I guess that, you know, as adults, we do that too, don't we? When we try and forego that emotion of being sad, you know, and get work done. The next time we're sad, it's going to come up twice as bad or twice as emotional, you know, and so that's my, you know, that I'm listening to you and you're, you know, acknowledging that sadness or that emotion that you felt yesterday, and taking yourself away and letting yourself deal with it, and then coming back. And that's gold, because you came back, and I get, you know, you were kind of empty of that emotion.
Yeah.
It happened, and you dealt with it, and so you were ready for the next one. You were like all gassed up and ready for the next one, rather than having suppressed that emotion, and then the next one came and you weren't ready for it, or you were, but you had that other one still there. So I think that another perception of the importance of being able to deal with the emotion when it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, not suppressing it. It's so important because
Yeah.
I remember, actually, if it's okay to share, my mum, bless her, I love my mum, and she always taught us, don't bottle up your emotions, let them out. She taught us that. She said that. However, monkey see, monkey do, right? What did she do? She suppressed her emotions. She bottled them up, and they would explode out when she was really stressed and wound up, and it's affecting her health even to this day. And there's a reluctance there, and it's not for everyone. It is hard work. There's a reluctance there to feel the feels. It's painful. It's not comfortable. And for anyone listening to this and they're thinking, well, I don't want to feel angry and it's not cool to feel angry, the emotions are perfectly normal and natural. It's a biological response. It's normal and natural to feel them. What matters is how we respond to them, how we deal with them. Suppressing them isn't the way. They get locked away. And I had a client actually who had a sound healing session with me. And she said that when I was playing the instruments during that time, she said she actually noticed, because she'd been repressing her feelings. She thought she was feeling her feelings, but she wasn't. And she was repressing them. And she was noticing that actually she could feel anger in different parts of her body, like it was dammed up, like the energy was stuck. And this is what we do when we suppress and we don't feel. We dam up the energy. And what that energy means is that we're taking energy out of our bodies. We don't have that energy available to us to actually use it for things that we want to do.
Wow, yeah.
So when she was actually able to, so the sound actually helped her to feel that emotion, to recognize it, and also to let her imagine that the dams were open and that the energy could flow. And that was a really powerful experience for her, because up until that point, she hadn't really recognized that she was holding on to so much anger.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? A lot of us are not aware. You know, we think we're, and I'm guilty of that, we think we're emotion free, but yeah, the little things, the little triggers, aren't there, that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be things that trigger us, and sometimes we explain and we don't know why.
Right.
And that's where being more aware and being able to, and if we can sit with sadness, if we can sit with being depressed, if we can sit with fear, even for a little while, and be okay that it's there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just watch it and go, okay, I see you. I feel you. Eventually it passes. You can't hang on forever. Everything passes, like the seasons change. Like day into night. Everything changes. It's the only thing that's inevitable and sure is change. And it's the same with emotions. They don't hang around. And when we actually properly give them space, they pass faster. And that sounds counterintuitive. And I'll put my hand up and say, I thought so too. I used to sit in depression for months. Yeah. Like a tiny glimmer of neutrality, sometimes a little bit of happiness, but most of the time I was pretty much under the weather and like a grey cloud around me all the time. And it was pretty horrible. And if someone told me that I wasn't really feeling it, I'd have gone, you're nuts. I feel depressed all the freaking time. But the point was, I didn't want to feel depressed and I didn't know how else to feel. And as a result, and I was probably also, to be fair, there was also an avoidance of disappointment. Thinking about it now, I didn't want to feel disappointed. Every time I felt happy that something would happen and I'd feel disappointed, then I'd be back in depression. So why bother feel happy in the first place? Let's just bypass the happiness, the disappointment. Let's just go straight to depression, right? I think there's an element of that too. But over time, it's been a process. I've been able to let that go. Now I spend most of my time neutral, happy, and not so much time in depression. or
Yeah.
sadness or whatever else. And like yesterday, just now I'm okay with just acknowledging, okay, I feel sad. Don't know why it's there. It's okay. Feel it. Just sit. Do what I need to do. Let it pass.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was, and for me, listening to you, the key takeaway there was acknowledging it, not trying to make it go away, but acknowledging it and saying it out loud. I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm depressed. I'm angry. And one of the things that, that I do, again, I do with the children is if they're angry or sad, I sort of turn it into a fun experience. What does it look like to be sad? What color is it? What does it taste like? And then they're, and then all of a sudden that emotion, they let it go. And they're not dwelling on it. And I mean, I don't, I'm not saying that all our listeners should sit down and say, well, it's orange and there's hearts and there's unicorn. No, not at all. But, acknowledge it and describe it and out loud. Because then in a way you're almost allowing it to go. You're letting it go. You're not suppressing it. And yeah, that's a fun way. A fun way of doing it.
I love that. Yeah. I love that because you're going deeper into the experience without actually getting too deep. You're actually becoming, it's like you're separating yourself out of it a bit because the temptation is to go, I am angry and sit in it.
Yeah.
But actually it's just a feeling and we're not our feelings and we can actually take ourselves and go, okay, I'm feeling this. What color is it? What does it look like? How am I sitting? How am I holding myself? How am I? So the coaching question we ask our clients, how do you do depression? How do you do anger? What does that look like? And so you can look at how you're sitting because guarantee you're not sitting with your shoulders back and guarantee you're not relaxed. So if you take a few deep breaths, that's one of the reasons we say breathe. So that helps the body to relax. It's very difficult to be angry with a relaxed body.
Absolutely.
Shoulders come up to meet the ears, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you can play with it. It's so cool. So I love that you share that because then you're making them the observer of the emotion.
Exactly.
Being in it. You're taking them out of it. You're not making it wrong that they're feeling that way. You're just taking them out of it, letting them see it in a different way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, I know that they're even though they're young, that they're kind of understanding that I'm angry. No, I'm not angry. I feel angry. I'm not angry. Angry is not me. I feel angry.
Yeah.
And I know they're young, but I really do think that they're actually starting to understand that. And as adults, we need to understand that as well. Like you just pointed out, we are not angry. Angry is not us. We are feeling angry. Why are we feeling angry? That is just called asking yourself questions. Coach yourself. Make yourself explain to yourself, why am I feeling like this? Say it out loud. Yeah. It's cold.
And don't worry about not knowing why you feel it. It's like, I had no reason to feel sad. It just came up and I just acknowledged it and went with it. So you don't have to be a reason. It can be a case of something that happened when you were a kid that's now ready for you to heal it. It can be simple as that. It could even be someone else's emotion. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you don't make it a problem and that you see it as an opportunity to heal, to feel better about yourself, to bring loving compassion to yourself. Because the more loving compassion we can bring to ourselves, the more we have to offer the world. The more you have to offer your children, to your co-workers, to your spouse, to your pets, to the people you meet on the street even. We can have an overflowing cup, but it starts with us. We have to fill up our own cup. And this is just one way that we can do that. And so it's so beautiful. And I love that you're teaching the children that you're associating with these tools, because I wish I got taught this when I was that age.
Me too.
You work with really young kids, and we're not taught that we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions. I didn't know that properly until I was in my until I was 30. Actually, when I actually sat down and actually did my first 10-day meditation retreat, and I got to watch my mind literally go nuts. It was really fun. It was like watching a trapped animal wandering backwards and forwards. Like, okay, that didn't work to get attention. Oh, I wonder if I try this, and it would come up with something, and eventually it changed tactics. Your mind is really clever, but it made it really clear. Well, I'm not my mind. I'm not my thoughts, because I'm watching them. I'm seeing what it's doing. And sometimes it would do an awesome job of distracting me. And it's like, no, hang on a sec. You've managed to distract me for a whole hour. You need to come back to the breath. Yeah. It did a phenomenal job. And it's so powerful. And most of the time we're not aware of it. So this is why it's so good that we challenge our perceptions and we ask ourselves questions and we ask other people questions, because we get to learn. And when we ask someone a question, if it starts them thinking about what they're thinking, then you're getting them out of their thoughts too. And you might just open them up to a whole new perspective as well as yourself, and be okay with that too. I've had that happen a few times. I'm asking people questions and wondering why does it they think that way. And I'm thinking, they actually have a valid point. Maybe I need to review how I think or what I think about this. Maybe I need to change my thinking here. So it's really cool when we're more open to what else is going on.
It is so powerful, isn't it? Just listening to you say that, it's so powerful, you know, when we're open to ourselves and other people, and we give other people the opportunity to challenge their thoughts, to see a new perspective. You know, I know my friendship with you has changed my perception of so much in life. You know, like just I'm more open now to understanding things and knowing my emotions and accepting my emotions. So, you know, just the people you hang around with can change your perception on life. And it's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's really important that you choose people who are going to help stretch you a little bit, who are going to challenge what you think. It's a good thing. To have people who are constantly just reflecting back to you what you know and not challenging you, it leads to stagnation. And so having someone who prods you, who gets you to think a little bit, it can be uncomfortable, like any of this work that we're talking about. But at the same time, it can, because growth is not comfortable. You remember growing kids, pains as a kid, right? Really uncomfortable. But having those stretches can lead to greater opportunities.
Absolutely,
that you couldn't see because you didn't know they even existed.
And you know, don't wait for that person to come along to stretch you. You be the person that starts that domino effect. You be the person that's inquisitive, that is not always agreeing, but you're stretching them. Like, so why do you think that? What if we looked at it from this way? You know, be that person. Don't wait for that person to come along. You be that person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, start the ball rolling. You don't have to know answers. No. You don't have to know answers. You could even ask, rather than saying, what about, you might not know an alternative perspective. You could even ask them, how else could you look at that? Get them to come up with the answers. They might not know either. Be okay with that. They might go, oh, I've never thought about it. It's like, okay, cool.
I know, and have fun working together to try and find the answer.
Yeah.
Or different answers. There is most likely going to be more than one answer. You know, so bring them all together and create fun.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love this conversation today, Carrie. It was wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too, Kellie. I didn't expect to be talking about emotional healing in this conversation.
And look where it's got it, you know, and it keys in with what we're talking about. You know, the map is not the territory. You know, the problem is not the problem. It all keys in, you know. Absolutely. And it's just, yeah, it's wonderful. I love how our conversations, they happen like this. You know, we just don't have, okay, we're going to talk this and it's going to go like that. We always go off in a tangent, but they all come back to our key learning and our key takeaway and the book that we're talking about. So yeah, I love it.
So absolutely, and I trust that those of you who are listening are also getting value from what we shared today. And we would love it if you would also share your key takeaways from this conversation. And you can do that simply by joining our group, which is totally free to join, by the way, called Empowering You Book Club. You can go on Facebook and it's www.facebook.com/groups/Empowering You Book Club. And you hop on there. We're currently exploring 7 habits of highly effective people. And this conversation was inspired by Inside Out, which is the very first chapter, which is just laying down the principles and foundations of being able to apply the 7 habits, which is just awesome, frankly. The 7 habits are just simply common sense based on natural laws, principles, which
absolutely.
What a great way to, they're not easy, but what a great way to actually live our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the 7 habits, you know, in a way, they're the basic principles, aren't they? Living our lives in the way to help us. I love them.
Yeah, it's a great way. I mean, through them, we get to foster our compassion for self, for others. We get to create a vision. We get to create the person who we want to show up as every day. And to, you know, who wants to be happy just some of the time? We want to be happy all the time. We want to be happy living because we're living a good life. And this provides foundations for us to actually be able to do that, to know what that even looks like. Because I don't know about you, but at some point I had to draw the line aside and say, like, there has to be something more than this. Now I ended up traveling the other side of the world to just kind of go on that journey of figuring out, okay, what's more than this? I'm sure others of you haven't had to go to that extreme, but you might still be asking the question that there's got to be something more than that, more to the drudgery or whatever it is I'm experiencing right now. There has to be more. And these habits help us to open the door of that. They ask us to ask powerful questions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Start thinking bigger, dreaming bigger.
And they help us to understand why they're important in our lives. You know, like, why it's important to be able to, like you said, dream bigger, not be satisfied with where we are, what we're doing, and know that we can grow, we can stretch, we can become who we want to be. We don't have to settle for what we are or what we think we are, and, you know, and just sharing that and being the teacher in the world with our friends and growing them, helping them to grow and stretch. The group is phenomenal. I love the Empowering You Book Club. I just love it. You know, a safe environment and non-judgmental. You know, Carrie does the readings for the books and posts it, and they're there for you to read at your pace. There's no pressure at all. You know, I post words to encourage you, words to get you thinking, words to challenge you. And it's just great, you know, it's just great. I love it. How many people are in the group to date, Carrie?
I think we're still around about the 60 mark.
Okay. Then there you go. You know, just knowing that there's 60 perspectives on the books that we're currently reading, you know, and that's great. You know, everyone can share their key takeaway. You know, it might be different. You may have missed something, or you may have overlooked something. So yeah, come and join our group. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
It truly is, and I do love and enjoy your insightful quotes and sayings and points from the book as well. It's just it really adds to the atmosphere and does help to yeah, it might be something that we missed. So it really helps to, even for me, and I've read the book now about 3 times. So even for me, coming back to it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's really powerful and important to know. Because there's so much, right? There's so much in this, in the book, and at the end of the day, if you take away what 5%, 10% of what you read at a time, you're doing well. The rest of it will wash over, and that's normal. And so this is a way to actually take little tidbits and get that information, and reading other people's insights as well. Because I saw an insight from a member the other day, and she was relating it to, I've forgotten what it was now, but she was relating it to her children as well, and how, I was right, it was Stephen Covey. He was talking about how he perceives his child, and how he and his wife are perceiving his child, who wasn't being very successful at school. All the other ones have been like top of the class or whatever, but this one was behind in their eyes and was struggling, and they think there's something wrong with him. They didn't really see that there was something. They did, and they didn't. Like subconsciously, they were basing their worth on him. And so she took from that, I need to look at my children. I need to make sure I'm not seeing that my worth is dependent on how well they're doing, on their successes. I need to make sure that actually I'm there for them where they're at and providing what they need and being the one that they need me to be. And I thought that's wonderful. I mean, like just taking that away, and it's like, okay, cool. You know, I'm thinking about what does that look like? How am I going to show up differently to perhaps how I've done in the past?
Yeah, that you know, and you're looking at that from an adult perspective as well. You know, like, am I pushing my beliefs and my understanding onto other people? Am I always accusing them of being wrong or not doing it right? But is that just my perception of how it needs to be done? Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And also thinking about it from another point of view, like, is there someone that you're taking under your wing that you're seeing as like fundamentally like needing your help and care? And are you actually, through doing that, not allowing them to grow?
Yeah.
Because you're somehow seeing them as kind of needing help, needing support, instead of just actually helping them to raise themselves up. And seeing that they're whole and complete. And that's one of the things I love about coaching and healing in general. When we see people as whole and complete, we see that actually they're fully capable. They have all the resources that they need. Just like a caterpillar turned to a butterfly, we know all the resources are there. We're just helping them to access them, so they can build the cocoons, they can build that cocoon, and then they can release and they can come out, and they have the strength to do it themselves. No one helps a butterfly out of its pupa. It has to do it itself. If someone helps, it doesn't build the strength it needs to fly.
Exactly.
They die.
Yeah.
So we're there just to help them to be able to do that for themselves. And then they can take off and go out into the world and be, you know, just shining their light.
I'm glad you brought that butterfly story. It's one of my most favorite heartfelt stories, because it reinforces the need for struggle in life. You know, like the caterpillar, he needs, or she needs to struggle to get out of the cocoon and the thing that it's in order to blossom and become the majestic butterfly that it's going to be. It needs to go through that struggle. And we need to go through struggle in life to be the inspirational, the amazing people that we are destined to be, that we are. And yeah. It's passionate, isn't it, Carrie?
It is. We could talk all day about this stuff, couldn't we? We really could, because this is so close to our hearts. And I think that's a beautiful place to actually end this conversation, because, you know, growing our butterfly wings. What a way to end the conversation. So, understanding that, yes, we struggle, we get to strengthen those wings so we can fly. So, thank you so much for adding that. So, call to action, join the group, share with us your key learnings. You'll find, so you've got the link I gave you earlier. I'll also post it in the description as well. So please do come and join us, absolutely free. Lots of resources, access to a beautiful community. Feel free to, message us even. We're happy to respond to messages. If you're stuck and struggling and don't want to share in the group even, we're there to support you on your journey. No right or wrong. We're all here learning, including ourselves. We're still pushing ourselves. We're still growing. We have coaches. We're still, we don't have it. We're human too. We're completely imperfect. And we're developing our skills. So, a place to try things out even. And find like-minded people. Perhaps you don't have people who are pushing themselves right now. I don't think I could talk about this with someone. Cool. Come and join our group. We've got people here who are talking about it, who are working together on this. So it's a really good space to come to connect with like-minded people. And I can't stress this enough. And when you make those connections, get on the phone. Reach out to someone in the group even, message them, see if you gel. Get on the phone. Get calling them on Facebook Messenger or whatever. But get on the phone. Because this is how our relationship between Kellie and I formed. It was because we actually got on the phone together. We actually said, let's get together, let's have a chat, let's have a conversation. Here we are now doing a podcast. Exactly. So who knows where a conversation might lead you?
It is, yeah. And this, what we're doing, it's stretching me. It is putting me way out of my comfort zone every time we do it. And I'm okay with that, because I'm looking at it and I'm growing, I'm stretching, and I'm becoming the person that I want to be. And I'm accepting that sometimes that uncomfortable feeling that I get, because that's life. And I've got to do that in order to grow my wings and stretch and become the person I want to be. So thank you, Carrie, for allowing me and guiding me and being that support on this journey. It means a lot.
Thank you, Kellie. And likewise, it goes both ways too, because we're in this together. And I wouldn't be doing this without you. So I appreciate you always showing up, always letting me push you, because I do push you.
Yeah.
we're both growing together. And so we keep putting ourselves out of our comfort zone. Sometimes we muck up, like the last podcast was not great. And we acknowledged that, we both weren't in our best state, but we still showed up anyway. And so we want to show that, even though, so I've left it up because I feel like, well, you know what? We did it. We showed up. Even though we would rather have not have done, even though we would both have rather just gone back to bed, we still showed up. And I feel like we still delivered something. And if one person alone got benefit out of what we shared, it was worth doing. And I think it's good to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, absolutely. And being okay with it, that's the key as well. Being okay with it and just, you know what, it happened, but it's okay.
Absolutely. So there you go, learning and growth as we go.
Absolutely.
And so I invite you to do the same. So come on, come and join us. We'd love to have you with us. We'd love to have you growing, sharing, breaking out your beautiful butterfly wings in whatever colors and shapes and sizes they may be. So do come join us, and we'll see you in the next podcast till then.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kellie. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye.